Hey, this is Bon Diesel, and today I'm bringing you a quick little news drop from Escape from Tarkov, and we'll talk about what I think it means for the next 6 months to the year of the game. If you like the video, if you want more, please like, subscribe, click on the bell, check out my other videos, check out the EchoCast podcast, and my live streams right here on YouTube. So the first thing that happened today for people who logged in was they would have found a message from Fence. Apparently this is only for people who have a positive scav rep, but that seems a bit disputed at the time. But the message from the Fence vendor says, "So listen up, I'm only telling you this because we got along well. The past places with the stuff are no longer relevant. My people removed and stashed almost all the valuables, so keep in mind, look for it elsewhere on the locations." So if you're new to the game, or if you haven't been involved in Escape from Tarkov or the kind of the community manager side of it, I believe they don't have an English speaking community manager, and they use mostly some translation stuff and some of the rough translations from people who work there. But this was kind of a mysterious little message we got. This has been happening in the game for weeks now, if not longer. And what's been happening are these kind of random events where bosses from one map will show up in a different map, where like you'll dehydrate faster while you're in the game and have to drink more liquids, which sent all of the drink cost way up. They've basically been doing all these little test events to try to manipulate the game, and this appears to be one of them. So after doing a little bit of digging, and I believe Nikita, the lead dev on the game, even commented on Reddit about this, is it sounds like this is their first step of testing like kind of random loot drops. Right now there's specific places where specific types of loot drops, which I don't have a problem with necessarily. A completely random loot generation system would be kind of stupid. If the best loot could randomly spawn in the middle of a floor, and the worst loot would spawn in rooms where you have to pay millions of dollars for keys or get super lucky to get the keys, that system doesn't seem ideal either. But it seems like they're gonna fall somewhere in the middle. So this is apparently a test of it. What came shortly after that was this, what you see on screen beside me here, a tweet thread they had here talking, just giving an update on the game. So I'm going to read through the tweets, and then we can go back through them and kind of talk about what they might mean for the future of the game. So it says, "Hello everybody, it has been a long time without status reports, and it is not meant that we do nothing. On the contrary, we are so immersed in colossal volumes of work that we do not have time to exhale." Again, this is very, this to me reads like a direct Google translation of Russian to English, but it's fine. We get the point. Here is the status report on what is going on and what we are focused on right now. Right now we're on patch 12.11 something, not 5 is where we'll go from here. As of September the 4th, I believe it is, yeah. Patch 12.11.5, intermediate patch with fixes and optimizations. 11.6, Unity 2019 migration and DLSS support. Patch 12.12.0, which is for people in the community would be called patch 12, or 12.0 is what everyone kind of dismisses that first number, at least for now. Let's see, Lighthouse location, daily quest, Inertia. There will be an ETS, that's their test environment. Voip ETS as well. Next weapon malfunction, iteration, new weapons, and other stuff. 12.5, lots of quality of life improvements and additions. Other intermediate patches with hotfixes, visual improvements. Partially will be pushed on ETS. 3 new modules to anti-cheat system to increase AC reaction, anti-cheat reaction time, and overall cheat detection speed. It is a hot topic right now, although we did a great progress on this issue and for the last few weeks. The war is not over. And then events, podcasts, and other related activities, preparations. Next 4 months will be pretty hard and important. We need to provide you with a lot of important fixes, changes, and content. Action speaks louder than words. Take care, EFT Dev Team. Okay, so for the uninitiated, I'm not going to pretend like I'm the most veteran member of this community. I've only been playing for the last 2 or 3 years, but I feel like I know enough to at least comment on some of this stuff and kind of set the stage, either for people who haven't played recently or are just kind of getting back into it. So this first part of the message here is there's just lots of complaints from the community that they don't communicate enough. Being a part of the Division community as well, it's kind of funny how the Tarkov has been a little quiet the last few weeks, but they're typically putting out information somewhat regularly. The Division game had a weekly State of the Game podcast or in video live stream. Where they would talk about stuff every single week for years. It's since gone away, and before it went away, it was pretty hit or miss. But for years, they did a weekly podcast where we heard from them every week, and people still complained about not hearing enough. So if you're involved in gaming communities, you'll know that just because they give us lots of information and they are constantly talking to us, doesn't mean people are going to be happy with it anyways. So what they're saying here is, we know we've been kind of quiet, but we're working on a ton of stuff. And moving into the more specifics here, they talk about the status report. So patch 12.11.5. Before I get into these, the very last tweet suggests that we might or we should expect all of these updates in the next 4 months, which is interesting. So that's quite a big deal in a lot of ways. So the first patch is just intermediate patch with fixes and optimizations. So from a content point of view, I'm not expecting anything major there. They seem to be, they put out these patches fairly regularly, and sometimes they involve like pretty game-changing changes to the game or optimizations and things, or tweaks. But for the most part, this is going to be stuff where they're just knocking out bugs and trying to make things more efficient in the game. The 12.11.6, the migration to Unity 2019. So Escape from Tarkov uses Unity as its game engine. They're currently on the 2018 version of it. So you may look at this and be like, well, 2019, that's 2 years old. What's the big whoop? Apparently it actually does have a lot of features that they haven't really detailed on necessarily. I've seen posts by other people who are game devs and are familiar with the differences in these engines, and that there are a lot of things that are just made not necessarily easier, but better in the more updated version of the engine, and that from a development standpoint, it's going to be a big deal. I also believe that's why they're going to be able to add DLSS support, which I believe is part of 2019. That's for people who have NVIDIA 20 series or 30 series GPUs. It's a AI machine learning tech that can basically pretty significantly boost your frames, which in a game like Tarkov is a big deal, because the game can be very rough to run, and I'm really interested in how that's going to affect the game, because the game is very RAM and CPU heavy. So I'm curious how DLSS will impact the game and its performance in a game that already doesn't depend too much on your GPU. But that's still big news, and that's still a good thing. The next tweet here is talking about 12.12.0. So going from 12.11 to 12.12 that's a big patch. They don't mention a wipe here, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if it's in the next 4 months, they just wiped a month or two ago now. It's probably not another wipe till early next year is my guess, but this is a big one because the Lighthouse location. So this will be the first new map to the game since Reserve, and that was almost 2 years ago at this point, a year and a half ago. So that's a big deal. Previous rumors or previous conversations about this map, I believe imply that it's going to be as big as Shoreline, which I think is the biggest map in the game. It's got to be close if it's not. And this lighthouse in the lore of the game, essentially Tarkov is a fictional place in Eastern Europe or Russia, the Russian area, that there's a bunch of lore and story behind it that I'm not going to get into now, but basically it's been cordoned off by the UN, and there were PMCs from the West and from Russia, and there's a big giant multinational corporation that was doing some shady stuff that the West was trying to extract, and the Russians were trying to save or figure out what was going on. And basically when they shut Tarkov down, all these PMCs are stuck there, and then the locals, which in the game are represented by scavs and traders and dealers and stuff, are all stuck in this place, and you're trying to escape from Tarkov. So this Lighthouse edition is a big deal because it's supposed to be a coastal, I believe, location where the Western forces were based and were coming into Tarkov. And so the expectation is this is going to involve like a large Western base. The Western PMC was called USEC. The Russians are called Bears. And so there's assumptions that there's going to be a big USEC presence here, which we haven't seen very much of yet. There's a base in the Woods map and some other places. And there is the map is supposed to have obviously a big lighthouse. It's supposed to have 2 AI bosses, which is a big deal right now. There's only 1 on each map. And there isn't even, and they just had an event where they had 2-on-1, and that was probably to kind of test that. And I believe there's supposed to be a trader that you can only access on the Lighthouse map. And that trader is going to be protected by an AI that is not going to be easy. So that's why Lighthouse is a big deal. This tweet also, or this patch also, is going to include daily quests, which is something a lot of people have been asking for. A lot of people get into the game and they kind of beat they progress as much as they want, and then they kind of feel dead because there's not like random stuff to do. This daily quest thing is supposed to do that. Inertia, this is a movement system that's been talked about for a long time, where right now you can play the game kind of like Call of Duty or Valorant, or where you can be real twitchy and move your character back and forth very unrealistically, and it makes fights seem very they feel cheap. They don't feel very good. So this inertia system is supposed to make it where you have to be much more deliberate about your movement, and it's going to make it where if you try to play the game like Call of Duty, you'll die. That's the plan, at least. We'll see. It talks about the ETS. The ETS is their test server. You actually have to apply to get into it. I'm actually in it. I've never played it, but I will, once I see something about this being in there. I do want to get on there and test it. Voip is another service that looks like they're going to test. This is not currently in the game right now. There's a big menu of voice comms that you can use to try to communicate with other people. Voip is very controversial in the community. There's a lot of people that worry it's just going to be extremely toxic and extremely useless, especially after a few weeks when people get over the fun of it. I think it's going to be especially problematic for streamers if they try to use it, because people can, do awful things. But you can even have a thing where people run through the map playing like copywritten music over their VoIP, and if a streamer gets hit by that, they can in theory have their stream taken down due to copyright. So the VoIP thing is going to be interesting. They have already said though that there should be options for people to turn it off. The next weapon malfunctions iteration is a big deal right now. They have a system in the game where there's basically, I believe, 2 systems where your weapon can malfunction randomly one way, even if it's in perfect condition, and then it can malfunction in a different way depending on how much you've used it, how messed up it is. The more damaged the weapon is, as well as the worse it shoots and things like that. The way that mostly affects you now is when you buy brand new guns, they mostly function normally. If you pick up guns off of AI, they're almost always like 50% degraded, and those weapons behave much worse than a brand new one. Hopefully this new iteration of the system will be a little more nuanced and a little bit more interesting, because right now it just doesn't feel great for most people, or at least a lot of people. New weapons and other stuff. The SCAR guns have been talked about for a long time. This is, I'd assume that's when that will be. Those will come to us probably, as well as a bunch of other ones. They've been teasing shotguns lately. They have a side-by-side break shotgun that they've been showing off, as well as a like a revolver shotgun that they just showed off, which I think seems really cool. But that's more from a aesthetic point of view than a usefulness point of view. Patch 12.12.5, lots of quality of life improvements and additions. Who knows what that means? There has been talk of a big UI revamp sooner than later. It probably needs it. There's a lot of stuff in the game that's pretty outdated. You can tell it's probably been there since the game launched in beta back in, I think it was 2016 or 17. So that would hopefully be a UI update time. The other things they have on here are other intermediate patches with hotfixes and visual improvements, partially to be pushed on ETS. That's more talking about that they're just basically covering their butts, saying, we're going to put out other updates, but these are the big ones. See, 3 new modules of anti-cheat to increase the anti-cheat reaction time. All this is just talking about probably the biggest topic in the game right now, is people talking about cheaters. There's basically a big argument happening between people where some people say that they run into cheaters every single time they load into a map, and some people say that they've never seen a cheater ever in their 5 years they've been playing the game. As with most things, when it comes to people arguing on the internet, I would argue this is probably the truth probably falls somewhere in the middle. I know myself, I've run into a handful of people over the last couple of years, and especially I haven't really noticed anything this wipe. I also haven't been playing that much in the last couple of weeks. But basically what they're saying here is that they're trying to add more more bandwidth to their anti-cheat. The big thing is that they will never get rid of all the cheaters. That's impossible. It's too profitable for people to cheat, both selling the cheats and using them, for them to ever really go away. As long as there's a desire to cheat, there will be cheats. But it seems like here they're trying to show that they're trying to improve their system to be better about responding to those cheats when they do come and when they are being used and when they happen. That's a good thing. I don't expect cheating to ever go away. Neither should anyone else. And they're at least addressing it, acknowledging that they know it's a big topic in the community, and we're going from there. The final thing is events, podcasts, and other related activities. So it seems like they're prepping. They do occasional like live Twitch streams and stuff where they'll do drops or they'll show leaks. He always calls them, Nikita calls them leaks. It's just him showing things that are coming. So I don't know if they're really considered leaks necessarily, but hey, he can do him, and that's fine. And then he talks about the 4 months. So I assume that they're planning on all of these patches coming out between now and the end of the year. To break it down, looking at it, I would assume that means that we'll probably have the Unity migration, I would say probably next month or two. And then I would guess that Lighthouse map will probably be introduced, I would imagine, like in December, late in the year. So by them giving themselves those 4 months, they make it pretty easy for themselves to have a little time to do all this. So, hey, the issue is, like I said before, they could communicate every day and there would still be people who say they don't communicate enough. I think this is great. I think this is a good thing to do. I'm a fan of lots of other games, wink, that I wish would do this kind of stuff right now because they need it. I understand you can't do updates like this every month or every week or every day because there's never that much information to reveal at any given time. But this is good to see, and I'm excited about it. This Lighthouse map will definitely, hopefully, kind of bring me back to wanting to play a lot more often. Same with the daily quest. That's a thing I would really like to see, to just be able to pop on for like an hour or two, knock out some daily quests, get some experience, get some money, and then go to bed, or however I end up wanting to do it. And that's probably it for this video. I appreciate you sticking around for the whole video. Please feel free to let me know what you think, and if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments below, or if you just want to comment for the algorithm, I do very much appreciate that. I am trying to push for some to get some partnership here on YouTube. If you want to support my content financially, please check out my Patreon at patreon.com/bondiesel. If you want to check out my gaming podcast, the EchoCast, you can find it on all podcast platforms like iTunes, Anchor, Spotify. You can also find the recordings here on YouTube, on my YouTube page here. I do stream various games on YouTube, and if you want to subscribe and ring that bell, you can be notified when I'm live. I am at Von Diesel on Twitter, where you can catch my thoughts on a bunch of gaming and other topics, including Escape from Tarkov. So that's all I have. So until next time.